Hey Simon, how you doing?
Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, just about. You're a little bit laggy.
Oh, okay.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Good. We better?
Yeah, can dig that. How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not too bad. We're excited. Like big news. You broke you broke the internet last week. Um, so I've got some questions for you and some
Yep.
viewers' questions and stuff like that. But before we get in, how was America last week?
Yeah, it was good. Thank you. I spent most of the week with Professor Motor, who are our new USA distributor. For you
Okay.
and for your listeners who may not be aware, we moved away from having a US office at the end of last year, and are now working with a number of distributors across all of our brands. And for Scalextric, Professor Motor are our guys. And yeah, it was a really good trip, really, really fruitful. I think we'll be able to do some really good business with them, and they're looking to expand how they offer our products across the United States. And yeah, really, really, really good meeting, really good session. They're really good guys, and any American consumers who are concerned over lack of product at the moment out in the States, that I think is going to be a short-lived issue.
Excellent. So, how long has it taken then to sort of go from the process of going, right, we might need to sell the brand to signing the line? What's the process time?
Well, for a start, I don't think there was ever a decision that we need to sell the brand. That wasn't the
Oh,
case.
sorry, it was
It was a case that yeah, I get what you mean. It's all right. It's when the Hornby Hobbies as a group came off of the stock exchange, when it became a private business rather than a public one. The chap whose name is Mark Brown reached out to, I believe, our previous owners, which would be Castle Investment Group or Phoenix, regarding potentially purchasing. And I don't really know when that was. I mean, I became aware of this a little while ago, potentially, actually not that long ago, yeah, not long ago at all, really, sort of just start of the year. And I don't think it's taken that long. I think a few months. I'm not really sure. I haven't been involved in the backgrounds to it. I manage the brand day to day. I don't manage its worth and all that sort of bits and pieces with a potential buyer.
So you didn't get any shares?
No. Well, we don't have shares anymore. We're not. Well, the rest of the business isn't public, so unfortunately, there are no shares to have.
Okay, so is it completely now owned by the Purbeck people? So
yes,
standalone.
So Purbeck Capital is basically a company set up by Mark to run or manage that top bit of Scalextric. So yeah, we are completely separate, but we are still, as a brand, going to be ran by the same people as before, out of the same building, using the same shared services and shared resource and bits and pieces like that. So on a day-to-day basis for retailers and for consumers, there is no difference. Even for me, actually, day-to-day, I have a different boss who I'm meeting for the first time next week, but there is no difference. So I've been emailing him. But, yeah, it's
You're gonna have
exciting.
to wash your T-shirt for that,
Well, maybe I'll even wear a shirt. Who knows? But I'm really excited about it, and everyone here is excited about it. Just purely because it's somebody who's bought Scalextric because he loves it and he thinks it's a great brand. He wants to see where we can take it and what we can do with it. So he seems, I'm sure he is, but he seems to me when I've spoken to him, a very, very approachable and really nice guy. So we've been emailing back and forth, and that's been very pleasurable and great. So. Yeah, I think people are understandably concerned when they heard the news, or an American company has bought Scalextric. What's going to happen? Yeah. I think actually people should just be excited. As ever, I think this will take time for anything to happen and for changes to really obviously be made. But someone's bought us who is an enthusiast, is a fan. So what more could you hope for?
That's the biggest takeaway, I think, because I'll speak out loud about my own opinion, and it is voiced by some others as well. I won't disclose them, but when you had an investor join Hornby a few years ago, there was a little bit of concern about looking at the bottom line and then just discarding it as a lost runner. But what you just said, from my point of view, is the jewel in the crown. It's been bought by somebody who loves Scalextric.
Yeah, so he sent me imagery of his track at his house in America and cars and we
haven't had it on Track Focus. What's this about?
Yeah, and he the track he runs, by the way, it isn't just a little figure of 8 on the floor. It's big, and it has aftermarket controllers, and it's 4 lanes. So it's not like I'm a Scalextric fan because I've got a couple of sets at the top of my wardrobe.
Figure of 8.
Yeah, he's invested in it, which is what we want, and we want somebody as well who is going to understand the brand, understand what it can do, and take it to different places as well. We shouldn't be scared of Scalextric as seeing what else we can do with our brand name and our presence and all that sort of stuff, because it is a strong brand name.
It is. I think that is just refreshing to hear that someone who loves it has bought it, as opposed to someone buying it like, buying into a football club because over time it could make money. He's bought it because he sees that there is a future in this hobby for sure. Is everything going to stay?
I think actually it's exactly like somebody buying into a football club. I think it's exactly like somebody who's bought their childhood favorite club and is looking to ensure its survival and also a it to thrive as well. And he sees potential to get it back to where it should be. So that's actually quite a good analogy for this. And I think if you're a fan of that club, you should see it as a really positive thing that this person's come in and has seen the possible potential in it, likes what it's doing at the moment, sees the extra potential and wants to invest and be that person to bring it further forward.
I've got to ask, in some of those emails that you've shared to date, obviously not going to disclose everything, but is he putting in recommendations already for sort of cars and ideas and things like this?
No, and I think that's the measure of who he is. I think that, that would, he's welcome to. Mark, if you're watching this, mate, and there's a car you want us to do, let me know.
Good recovery.
We'll do it. But no, I think he is his background, as I'm sure lots of people have Googled, is somebody that was for quite a period CEO of a massive American drinks conglomerate that brought some of many people's favorite sort of more high-end spirits to the table and really been successful at everything he's touched. So he'll want to use that experience of understanding how to build a company from one thing to another. And I'm sure he'll come in. Whether we'll get down the nitty-gritty of what cars we're doing, what tyre compounds we use, I don't know. This is still very new for us as well, but we'll have to
track, see. So I've got a couple of questions from the viewers. One was talking, you mentioned to Marty Ford, Sterling class, world class act he is, that you're certain and developing some new, or bringing back some old school. Are you bringing back any like new track pieces and stuff to?
Yeah, we already are this year. We already have brought back the skid chicane, and providing that sells, providing that's popular, then we will bring other pieces back as well. Pardon?
Is that out now?
It's announced now. It's out later this year. It was part of our range launch in January. Yeah. So, providing that sells well, then we will do some other bits and pieces, and we'll see how we get on. Everything's got to be commercially underlined. If people want track pieces and we do one and no one buys it, then we won't do any more. But we'd like to. Yes. We understand that people think back to their Scalextric days of the 70s and 80s. They had a lot more sort of enjoyable, fun track pieces, whereas our track pieces now are much more to do with racing rather than knocking each other off and that sort of thing. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll see some more.
That kind of leads nicely into the next question, which was about software development. So we know you've got Arc Pro.
Yep.
So I'm just calling everything Pro for digital in the new wave.
Yep.
So there isn't an Air, there isn't a whatever. It's all Pro if it's digital. Is that right?
No. So what used to be Scalextric Arc Pro, we used to call it Scalextric Digital Arc Pro, which is too much of a mouthful. Now, if it's what used to be digital, so wireless hand controllers, 6 cars on one lane, that is Pro. Scalextric World GT stays as it is. That's still a version of our standard set because it's not by the wireless hand controllers on the app. It's still essentially the same old Scalextric, which is great, but it's still 1 car per lane. Whereas if you want to go the whole hog and have a mega layout, then really you want to take a Pro version, which is a bit more involved.
I agree with that. And then just the last question from the viewers. And by the way, feedback from this year's car selection, very good. Last year's was good. I thought they got a work cut out here. And then this year, very, very good indeed. Again, I don't want to sound like I sound surprised because you guys are good at what you do, but yeah, you smashed it again.
Thanks.
So
the transit and trailer's gone down very well. That is absolutely flying for us on pre-orders. I am pleasantly surprised as to how popular that has been, which is great, which is absolutely great. Just hope,
immensely popular.
Yeah,
that was one of my favorites. I was like,
yeah, pretty cool.
Trailer. Brilliant. So one other thing was with the track development, is there the possibility that you might switch to stainless as a rail as opposed to
we haven't looked at that at the moment. We may do. That's a real side of the dev side of things where I do sit on the marketing side, but that hasn't something we've really discussed at the moment, but it's certainly something we can look into.
And the other thing was clips. Like, could you invent some clips that hold the track together? Because a lot of people, when they do multi-car racing, it gets bashed around and it sort of moves, and we understand that, but it's just, if you got something to hold them together, maybe. I don't know. I'm just
all
asking the questions.
Yeah, all of that sort of stuff that people think would be an advantage. Then we have a marketing@scalextric.com email address, and just fire that across to us and say, look, this is something I really think would benefit, and we can look into it and see what we can do. Little things like that is quite an easy thing. Changing the whole metal construction of our rails to a different material, that's probably a bit more involved, but we can definitely look at some other bits and pieces.
Oh, so now you've got, this is out in the open. It must be so much of a weight off your shoulders not having to keep this under the can.
I mean, I didn't, to be honest with you, I didn't know the full extent and that it was definitely going to happen until quite close to when it did. I'd heard, I had to do bits and pieces in the background, but it's not like a secret I've been carrying around for 6 months. It's not like a pregnancy for 8 months. So I mean, it's not too bad.
I was there.
It was a bit awkward last week with Martin. Yeah, it was a bit awkward last week with Martin and also Dave over in the States, because we were announcing the news on the Friday. Yeah, and legally, I wasn't allowed to discuss it with them.
Say anything.
Before. So yeah,
it was awkward. Be nice. Nah, just Marty's sound, but with Dave, if you offered him just a quick chat online just to get a fresh story out following that story, because I'm sure he'd love that. But what's the future? What's the future? I mean, it's a week old, literally today, a week old. The news.
I think it's too early for me to go on here and discuss anything about what's different in the future. I think the main thing for your guys to take away, and for everyone to take away, is that integral to these plans will be Scalextric as it is at the moment to stay in its basic form as it is. Ring fenced. This is what this is, and I believe the plan will be to do other things around that. But if you like buying really nice looking cars that run on the same track system we have now, and the same digital system, all the same digital system we have now, then none of that is changing. And we're still going to be producing cars, still producing sets, still be selling on our website and on traders' websites, still available on Amazon, usual places, and across the world, all different your favorite local retailer. Then none of that is changing. So just look at it as a longer term changes and implementations.
So business as usual.
Business as usual. Thank you to everyone, by the way, that messaged me and said, I hope you're still okay in this. So that was really kind of all the people that did that. Obviously, I've taken notes of the people who didn't do that. But we will, we will look at.
I WhatsApped you. I know, exactly. I did. I emailed you and Holly. I'm off the hook.
Of course you did.
No, I asked for a proper press release after Sockgate.
It's a really, really positive thing and time for us, and it's exciting, and people should just be excited. And the cars they want this year are still coming, and there'll be some amazing stuff next year for another great range.
Sound well done. So, all right, let's wrap it up, mate, because I appreciate you're busy with this. Must be like exciting churn of new exciting work. So I just thank you very much for coming on.
No problem.
And giving us your precious time and letting us know, probably exclusively, actually, what's happened, how you're feeling about it. The team okay?
Yeah, team's all good. Everything is fine. It's just fine. Like everything's good.
Oh, watch that Marcus bloke.
Yeah, Marcus is good as always as well. Yeah. So if anybody does want to reach out to us and do something similar to this on their channel, whatever, then as long as I've got time, and we're pretty busy, but we can always look into it. Yeah. Always happy to set records straight for people. Yeah,
no worries. That's it. Getting up for Marty's show at 1 a.m. like you can make it. Anyway, look, I go round Kent It's part of my area in work. So what I'll do is if I'm flying down that way, I'll give you a heads up and see if you're around for a quick brew.
Yeah, no problem.
Have a great time. We're looking forward to supporting you more. I'm really excited personally. There's been a little bit of sort of 50-50, but then some people are never happy. But I am, and I think you've done well, mate. So congratulations and all the best with it.
Cheers.
All right. See you soon, mate. Take care.